Most people doing JavaScript Recon are not actually struggling with the tools. They're struggling with what to do with all the output. So in this video, I'm going to show you the system I use to turn JavaScript Recon into actual bug bounty leads. Quick note, I'm releasing the JavaScript Recon Automation Kit for free soon, and the private list gets it first before it goes public on GitHub. Join at logansec.com if you want early access. More on that later. This is not an AI bug finder. It's not magic. It helps me organize the attack surface faster so I can spend more time thinking and coming up with attack vectors. Okay, so I made this Miro board to show you guys what this looks like. So let's start at the top. Why most JS Recon goes nowhere. So this is what it usually includes doing. So too many JavaScript files. You spend a lot of time either using DevTools, Chrome DevTools, or you use Burp Suite, whatever you use, to capture all the JavaScript you end up finding in while you go through the application. Or some people use GAO or Wayback to get maybe get historical URLs and different JavaScript that may not pop up in the application. And then this can lead to getting way too many endpoints. SecretFinder noise, because you just run SecretFinder on absolutely everything that you end up finding. And that leads to no idea what to test because you've gotten all of this recon, all this reconnaissance, all this stuff. You got all this JavaScript, all these endpoints, all these SecretFinder output, and you have no idea where to start because you have way too much stuff all dumped in one directory. And that's what makes the output so messy of all this stuff going on. And this leads to collecting, not hunting. I did this so much in the beginning because I thought hacking was all about collecting as much information as you could. So I'd run every single tool, SubFinder, GAO, Waybacks, Katana. I need to be fuffing. I need to be doing all this different stuff. And then by the time I'd done all that stuff and I had all this stuff in different directories and stuff, I had no idea what to do because I just felt so overwhelmed. And to be honest, I wasn't even that good of a hunter. Still, I'm working on it, but at least now I have way much more of a structure. I know how to actually go about doing it. Tools are not secret. Manual reconnaissance is. So whenever you're running a tool, you want the point to be the tool is supposed to help you when it comes back to doing better manual reconnaissance, which is the whole point. So lack of structure is what we're trying to fix. We want to use scripts and tools because tools improve efficiency, but they only improve efficiency if used correctly. That's why we need to implement structure. So this is how I've been going about doing it. What I start with. So I have the target app, logged in browser. And then the main thing I'm doing is I am going through important user flows. For example, things like billing, team management, invites, profile, auth flows. Auth flows is really important. Like if you find a bug like an auth, like you can bypass verification, maybe session cookies get set before you're done logging in. This kind of thing is big. This is high critical pretty much every single time. You're going to get a good payout if this is a bug bounty program that actually gives good payouts. And then settings, never skip settings. This can be a gold mine. I found a bug one time on Chipotle. It took me 15 minutes and it was just in settings. Ended up being a duplicate, but it was actually a paid bug. And then what I do after I've gone through all these important flows is I'll export the horror file. So I use Chrome DevTools for this. So I just do F12 on my Windows. I'll just go ahead and I'll go over the network tab and I'll click preserve log. And I'll just click through the entire application like a normal user, make sure I'm capturing everything. And I just go back to the DevTools and I export it. And this way I have captured the meaningful flows because I only got the flows I actually went through while I was capturing in DevTools. And that takes us down to what my JS Recon Kit does. So this is the tool that I'm going to be releasing to the public in about a week or two from now. So horror file starts with the horror file. It will extract the JS, beautifies the JS because we don't only want to extract things from the JS with tools and stuff. We also want to manually go inside the JavaScript ourselves and make sure we're picking up everything else that scanners miss. Maybe let's say, even if you say oh, it's okay because I'll go back through with Claude or Codex and I'll have it look through it as well. But you want to make sure you're manually actually reading these files yourself as well. And that way, it's not just so maybe the AI missed something or script missed something, even though, trust me, it's going to miss something. But also by doing this, you're actively making sure you're critically thinking and you're learning about the application a lot better by doing this, actually taking the time to read it yourself. So that leads us to the next thing, which is going to be run LinkFinder. It will automatically run LinkFinder. It will automatically run SecretFinder, automatically run GF filters. And then, well, most importantly, which I actually believe is most important about this thing, not only does it run all this in a single script, it organizes all the output into different directories and with different specific file names. Therefore, I'm not getting overwhelmed because I understand where everything is. There's a directory for JS. There's a directory for GF, which is grep filters. There are now file names for things like SecretFinder output, LinkFinder output. So I don't get confused. Very, very important, because I'm not getting confused. Now I can be more focused. I can be more locked in. Like, okay, right now I am testing the LinkFinder output. I go to this file. Let me make a note page for LinkFinder output. These are my notes. I go and I look through everything. I look through very clearly. There's nothing wrong with also using like Claude Code or maybe a different AI to help you go through it. But you need to make sure you're manually looking at this stuff as well. That's the whole point. Our point is not to find bugs faster just through running scripts. The point is to find bugs faster by getting the necessary information we need from these scripts so that we can manually, critically think our way to finding good attack vectors that will actually lead to us finding vulnerabilities. So that takes me to what I'm looking for. These are the main things I'm going to be looking for. I know it's quite a bit, but it's not actually that much. So start over here at endpoints. These are the things we're looking for. We're looking for like admin, internal paths, hidden API routes, org ID. Because, okay, for them, let's go into the API routes real quick, really fast. So just because, let's say, for example, client side, you don't see /admin, which has settings that allows you to affect every single user, delete, edit, whatever. You don't see that in the client side, and they think that's good enough protection. But there's like a path for that in the JavaScript. If that comes up and you can just like manually call it in like Kaido or use curl or something, and you can actually get 200 OKs on stuff, the client side is not protection just by deleting it. You need to make sure the backend is rejecting it. So if it doesn't, finding that hidden API route can lead to you having admin access. I have things like org IDs, old forgotten routes, version endpoints, team IDs, invites. And now we're getting into stuff like parameters, also important. Invites, user IDs, redirect URIs. This can be IDOR stuff. Also, what else do you have? Profile editing, return to, off flows. You can now get redirect stuff. You're looking at redirect stuff. Off flows can also lead you to things like ATOs and account takeovers and maybe auth bypasses. And then you have features. Features is actually a really, really important one that I actually think is often looked at. It's very much underrated. You have things like support chat. Is that the only one that shows here? I guess it also falls under, where's that? Where's features going all the way over here to org ID as well. But features, for example, it could be like anything. If you can find anything like a weird edge case that you can chain with maybe an open redirect, or you find so many interesting things. Like, for example, feature flags. This is often very, very underrated. If you find the spot where it's just like maybe in the response where it's like admin is set to false, you can just go to match and replace and change all admin sets to false to trues. And if this is not revalidated on the back end, you'll now have access to admin functionality once again, just by having that match and replace rule in. But you might not even know like this is a possible thing you can do if you didn't like see this in the URLs or like through the paths and like LinkFinder. I actually think, okay, I know I'm getting excited, but I actually think LinkFinder is actually way more important than SecretFinder, because most of the time SecretFinder stuff's going to be blocked. It's going to be closed. It's not really open anymore. Plus we have all these AI scanners and all this AI stuff now. So, but I think LinkFinder is still super underrated because it actually requires you to go in, look at the paths, and then from there doing your own critical thinking. I know I keep using the word critical thinking. It's super important in the world we live in right now to actually use these links, these paths you're finding to actually then generate your own attack vectors. You're going to find things like these feature flags. Also in JavaScript, I don't underestimate features. And then you have secret config, which, to be honest, it's there. I don't ever really expect to find anything in it. But I also have another script. Now, I have another script in the JS Automation Kit, which does have a test all keys, which will automatically test things like all AWS, Twilio, Heroku keys and stuff. It'll test them automatically in one script. So you can just go ahead and do that really fast. Test them. Go ahead, run the script, continue doing whatever you're doing, come back, see if it found something. Probably didn't, but maybe it did. Make sure you manually validate that before you submit it. Always do that. So you just have your environment, hence internal domains, API keys, nothing. This is stuff like you should know. It's not that big of a deal. And then we're going down. We pretty much talked about this blue stuff. So let me just go down here. We have things now. These are the kind of things that you can get just by looking at all this output. You have things like role abuse, cross-account unauthorized invites, IDOR, mass assignment. If you can get mass assignment, meaning you're affecting lots and lots and lots of users, that is like the number one thing companies care about. Sometimes companies won't even pay if you expose their own employees' data. But if you expose customers' data, that is big. That is high. That is critical. This is the kind of thing that really does matter. So you need to be thinking about these kind of things. I need to be thinking about these kind of things. That's why, like, another reason why I make these videos, it's not just to help you guys, but it's for me to help improve my own mental models. Because when I'm teaching, helping to teach someone else also helps to reinforce what I need to be doing instead of just saying, like, I don't know, like recording some script like, oh, da 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 da. And now I'm like, this is what I actually use. So this is why I'm teaching it, because this is what I'm using at the time. This is what I find is working and how I believe I'm going to get to the next level when it comes down to bug bounty. So then you also, I talked about redirects, OAuth. Remember, don't report an open redirect by itself. I've done this. I have lost 10 rep on HackerOne, and don't do it. Don't do that. File validation, access control, valid exposure through abuse potential. Not usually going to find, because once again, we're talking about SecretFinder stuff. But still, having the workflow, super simple, especially with the script. And then Recon is not about more output. This is the number one thing. Recon should never be about more output. It's all about better questions, not bigger folders. I will admit, what makes Recon so special is because you oftentimes, if you don't really do Recon, all you do is hunt the homepage, the settings, the login. Literally every hacker and their mom is testing these things. So by getting good at Recon, you can find different attack surfaces that are less hunted on, which will therefore mean you already have a higher chance of finding a bug because less hunters have been there, meaning there's probably easier bugs to find. So Recon is all around super, super important if done right. I'm not sure if you heard me. If you did, excuse me. Burped. But better questions, not bigger folders. My main thing is attack vectors, attack vectors, attack vectors. Everything you do when it comes down to reconnaissance should be making you think more about attack vectors. If you're doing Recon with the point of going from Recon to bug, don't do that. I do not believe that is how things should be done. Own personal opinion, but I truly believe all Recon should lead to attack vectors, and attack vectors lead to bugs. And then next, this leads into my JS Recon Automation Kit, where I have a whole thing for extracting HAR files and then turn this into JavaScript, beautify, extract, LinkFinder, SecretFinder, JF, all this stuff, and then helping you organize it very nicely for you so you can actually go ahead and do your manual reconnaissance in that and actually get the kind of results you're trying to get when it comes to forming attack vectors, not finding bugs. This is not an automatically find bugs. This is generate more attack vectors by meticulously looking through this organized data. This is coming out for free soon on my GitHub, probably in about 7 to 10 days. But it's coming out to my private list. My private list gets this first, and then it's going to be released publicly on the GitHub. So if you want to make sure you get my JavaScript automation kit before it gets released to the public, so if you want it sooner, join the private list. Link is in the description below. It will also be at logansec.com. Recently got the domain, and this is going to be the end of the video. I hope you learned something about JavaScript, how to actually extract, use it to learn Recon, attack vectors. I've been talking too much. Subscribe. I'm out.